Um, Hi, everyone. We are tuning in to a GFP Connects, a social distancing and a digital learning program that we've launched as part of Gender and Family Project. Today, we have a lot of TGNC advocates to speak about how we can best support the trans, gender nonconforming, and gender expansive community here in New York City during the COVID-19 crisis. So we currently have, I'd like to introduce myself first and foremost. My name is Farhat Rahman. My pronouns are they, them, and he, him. I'm the development associate at GFP, and I'm really excited to have our fellow panelists here with us today. We have Pooya Mohseni. Um, she is an actress, writer, filmmaker, and activist, and our Gender and Family Project Advisory Council member. Her pronouns are she, her. So grateful to have you with us, Pooya.
Thank you very much for having me.
And then we have Jia Hurd. She is a young adult advocacy fellow at NYTAG, the New York Transgender Advocacy Group. And they are also a queer mental health advocate in the larger New York City area. Their pronouns are they, them, and she, her. Thank you for joining us, Jia. And we also have Ashe McGovern, the executive director of the New York City Unity Project and the senior LGBTQ policy advisor at the New York City Mayor's Office. Their pronouns are they, them, theirs. Thank you for joining us, Ashe. So I'd like to get us started just in terms of how everyone's been doing since the onslaught of the COVID-19 pandemic that's been prevalent in New York City since mid-March. I know it's been a tough time for so many communities, and most importantly, even trans and gender nonconforming community who's been so under-resourced for so many decades, and now we have this crisis and we don't know how long it's going to go on. So how has COVID-19, both the virus and the changes in our everyday lives, impacted you first and foremost as individuals working within the larger like activism and also advocacy efforts that are happening for TGNCNB communities?
Who wants to take that first?
Pooya, do you?
Okay, I'll take it. Well, I mean, we all know New York, especially New York City, has come to a screeching halt over the last 5-6 weeks, and there's no denying that. New York State, in a lesser degree, and other states maybe to lesser degrees, but basically most of the country has come to a screeching halt. And whenever a society is squeezed into a corner, the marginalized communities, whatever they may be, whether it happens to be the homeless community, the queer community, the immigrant community, whatever the marginalized communities are, they feel that squeeze more than everybody else, because resources are not infinite. So it's kind of like this trickle down thing, that it goes to certain parts of the society first, and then by the time it gets to the marginalized communities, whatever is left just has to get divvied up. For me personally, as an actor, writer, massage therapist, healer, I mean, my life has completely come to a stop since early March. I'm very glad that I got to do a video treatment model for the queer community the week right before we went into shelter in place. So I'm really glad that I got to do that. But on a daily basis, I try to connect with the younger trans people I know, some who are in New York, some who are in other states, and some who are in other countries. What I'm hearing is there are people who either had surgeries that had to be postponed indefinitely, some who are afraid that their health insurance was only going to take them so long, and they were hoping to take advantage of that, and that's why they were going to have those procedures, and now they don't know when, because now all of those surgeries are considered elective and they're all being pushed back further and further. But I'm also talking to people outside the country and realizing this isolation is keeping people from connecting, which is what GFP is really there for people to be able to see and commune with other people who are like them in certain ways, who can share experiences, um, and who can give people that sense of normalcy and community. And all of that has been cut. Some people have the ability to connect through Zoom, through Skype, through different online platforms, but some people don't have that capability. And I see in those people that sense of isolation is morphing into despair and depression. And I wouldn't say that I'm completely immune to that. You know, our lives have come to an end. People, we know people that bring us joy. Um, just the basic humanity of connecting physically has been taken out of our lives. So what I see is that a lot of people are trying to do their best by staying in contact as best as they can, but it's definitely an unsure time for everybody, and we all feel like we're frozen in time indefinitely.
Totally, Pooya. I mean, I think having different surgeries being canceled, especially gender affirming surgeries, has been, I've seen 3 of my friends go through that, and it's been going even. So I think it's really important as to how, like, a carve out spaces as to how can trans and non-binary and intersex communities thrive in this atmosphere, and given that now we're in a mode of survival. So
Exactly.
Jia, do you have, can you also speak about how this and its onslaught has impacted you first and foremost and the work you are doing?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can. So before the pandemic like hit New York City, I was working as a freelancer in program management and event coordination, and I lost all of my income for the foreseeable future. We don't know what's going to happen after COVID-19, but what I was able to do was like create my own path. And I've been, I'm also like certified in mental health. I have a certification in mental health. So I've been offering free and sliding scale mental health counseling to queer and trans, Black and Indigenous people of color. I have been doing that for the past month. I've expanded my team to about like 4 people, and we just gained a fiscal sponsor, so we'll be fully funded soon. So I would say, to summarize my experience, at first, in the beginning of the pandemic, I felt very hopeless. I lost my income, and losing your income as like a trans person, as a queer person, it's a big deal because we don't often have resources or family to rely upon. But I tapped into giving back to my community through mental health counseling.
That's wonderful. Congratulations on the fiscal sponsorship. And Ash, would you mind sharing how the virus has impacted you in your everyday life?
Yeah, sure. I think one thing that's important to note is that it's, as these things are impacting us personally, they're not impacting us equitably or in the same ways. So, I think a lot about the fact that I have a lot of massive privilege. I'm a white person, I'm employed, I'm not at risk of losing my job, I'm housing secure, I have health insurance, and that's just not the reality for most Black and brown trans people in New York on any day, at any moment. And the crisis now has really made it worse for a lot of folks. So personally, I feel a sense of obligation to make sure that I'm fighting to get programs and services for those community members who needed them 2 months ago and really, really need them now. But of course, like on a personal level, it's hard for all of us and challenging for all of us, but really not, again, in the same ways. But still hard to stay present and focused all the time. Like there's there's a lot going on. There's a lot of loss and death that I think most of us at this point, I saw an article the other day that half of New Yorkers have either know someone or are family connected to someone who's passed away from this. So it's hard not to, in some way, be connected to the direct grief and loss. And I know that our communities have been in grief and loss for a long time, and this is making things much, much worse.
Thank you for sharing. So I think that leads to even the next question, Ash, on how has it impacted the trans community that you are trying to get resources for, and also who you surround yourselves with?
Yeah, so I know I'll speak, I guess, first to the communities that I work with and for at the Unity Project. So the Unity Project is our citywide initiative to support and empower LGBTQ communities. It's housed in the mayor's office. And over the years, we've built up programs and services, including partnership with GFP on some family acceptance work. And that work has just, as I was saying before, become even more urgent. So all of the work that we focused on has really been for communities who are already in crisis. So homelessness, housing security, housing insecurity, unemployment, family rejection, mental health inequity, and other physical health inequities. So these are all issues we've already been focusing on and already been trying to build programs and services around that are becoming more and more important for us to stay focused on. So that's what we're trying to do, and we're only able to do it because of the community partners we work with, like GFP, like NYTAG, like others who are doing this work every day too. So I'm grateful for that partnership, but that's really what we're trying to focus on, because we know particularly Black and brown trans communities are really suffering right now, as they have been.
Pooya,